Hi everybody, in today's video I'm going to give you a quick demonstration and a how-to on ways you can use your resin cast. This is an amazing product. It's an all water-based formula. It has a plastic compound in there making it extremely strong, but again this is the way that you use your resin cast in a basic formula to pour into your silicone molds, into any of your castings that you have at home to create beautiful embellishments and of course home decor for in and around your home. So what we're going to do first is I've got a weighing scale here in front of me. And we want to work in grams. So you can see with this weighing scale, I'm just going to reset it and take it down, let's have a look, to 0 grams. Now, when you're working with resin cast, it is always best to work in grams because the formula is 100 grams of resin cast for 35 grams of water. Really interesting point as well that when you're using water, if you use 35 ml of water, it equates to 35 grams. Weight and milliliters is the same within pure water. So I'm just going to reset that back to 0. Okay, and I'm using just a standard plastic pot for this. You could use an old yogurt pot, something like that, or you could use a plastic cup, something you can wash out, because again, you can use it time and time after again. It's not like an epoxy where it's going to bond to the surface and spoil whatever vessel you're using to decant your resin. Now, with that in mind, what I'm going to do is go straight in with the resin. We don't need to refine it through a sieve at all, anything like that. Straight in with the resin cast. It's got a resealable bag, so once you're finished, you just clasp it back together or just put a clothes peg over the top of it to keep it rolled up and keep it nice and air dry. So what I'm going to do is go right up to 100 grams. And the beauty of this resin cast as well is you've got a buffer. So when you're working with this, say for example, I've got, 102. So I've got it exactly to 100 there. That's just, I'm quite happy with that. But if you were to go to 103, maybe it's 98, don't worry about it. You're not going to break the formula. It's a really, really easy process to follow, and it's one as well that doesn't go wrong. I've never had a cast that's not worked. So when you're working with water-based products, you're in safe hands. So with 100 grams in there, I'm then going to reset my scale, and that's going to take us now back down to 0. So what I'm going to do is I've got a water bottle here, one of my paint sprayers, and I found it easier to put it into this because it decants nice and slowly, so I can pour at a nice pace. I'm then going to go up to 35 grams of water in here. Okay, so 35 grams, keep going until that stops. Again, if you put a little bit too much in, don't worry. You just want to make sure it's within about 10%. So let's have a look, 33, 34, little more drop. Oh, I'm going to go for it. There we are, 35, okay? And if you did put a tiny bit too much water in and you wanted to stay at those strict measurements, just put a bit of tissue in and it will soak a bit of that water out, and that's an easy way to remove water from a mixture. So that there is our mixture complete for our resin formulation. So I'm taking a stirrer. You can use the end of a paintbrush, a lolly stick, anything at all for this. Anything plastic or wood is fine, or metal. So what I'm going to do is start to stir. Now you might think straight away, almost like when you're making a pancake batter, you've got lumps. They all naturally dissolve, okay? So just working into the mixture, stirring it around and rotating it, you will gently start to find that it all becomes smooth and it just naturally forms. Now, if you're using a mold at home that's much bigger than the one I'm using today, you can double your quantities if you want to on both sides of that measurement to get a bigger formula of resin. So for example, you might want to use, 200 grams of resin for 70 grams of water. That there is going to give you the exact same formulation, just doubled. Now, some people I have seen as well, which is a great tip, tend to put less water in and it's the thicker medium. That way it can dry quicker, but I always tend to follow 100 grams, 35 grams of water as a simple formulation ratio. And once it's at the consistency of what I would call melted chocolate, that is then the perfect way to go. So you can see there, we've got this ready. Now, once you've actually mixed this, you've got a waiting time, so you don't have to pour it straight away. You can still be picking and choosing what mold you're going to use. You don't have to rush. You've probably got around about 10 to 15 minutes before you want to start pouring, okay? Because this sets within about 4 to 5 hours fully, but within an hour you can take it out of its mold, okay? So really, really interesting that you don't have to wait overnight. So once this is fully stirred, just like this, I'm going to select the mold I'm wanting to use. This is one of our square molds. Again, you can find all of these products with the links in the description to the video. You can find this on the Highlight Crafts website. We've got them in sets of 4 of all of these different shapes, which is really nice because you can do so many different effects. Then what I'm going to do directly with the resin prior to doing any colouring, because we'll cover that in future videos on how you can create these effects, I'm going to pour it straight into the mold, okay? So this mold actually has a recess that dips down all the way around the edges. But I'm not going to focus on that just for now because we've got a real simple, easy technique to follow which allows you to cover all of the areas of the mould. Okay, so I'm just scraping all of that resin cast in here, and you want to get out as much, of course, as you can into the mould. Any that's left in here, just wipe clean with a cloth, and then you can rinse it down the sink. It's completely safe to do so, but you just want to leave the tap running for as long as you can, just to make sure it's all rinsed through. But I would just take a wet wipe or a tissue, just clean it out, and you're good to go. You might not even need to rinse it, but it is water-based, so it comes off really easily. So we've poured this inside here now into our mould. Now what I'm then going to do is start to lift the corners like this, okay? So I'm lifting the corners, just gently knocking them, lifting it up and dropping it down, just like that. Now what's happening during that process is any bubbles that are inside that mix when we were stirring it are all coming to the surface. And ever so slightly, you might not be able to see them here, but at home you'll see it, is little bubbles will pop on the surface. And you want to do this for around 2 to 3 minutes. But you can do it for a couple of seconds if you want to, because some people, including me, like the bubble effect on the surface, but this will eliminate all of that. So all I'm doing is working my way around the edges on all corners. And again, what that is also doing is allowing all of the resin to flow into that channel that sits all the way around the edge of this mold. Again, if you're using a large oval mold, maybe you've got more area to fill, continue to do the same process all the way around. And also with that vibration, with that knocking motion that you're doing, you're leveling all of the resin so it's perfectly flat. Now with that in mind, once that is all set in there, I can see that I've got no more bubbles coming to the surface. When you were stirring, if you were really fast and you were really sort of frothing it up, that way you're going to find you get more bubbles. So just a gentle stir will eliminate that process for you. So a little bit of a knock here and there, then you can take your mold away and that will be dry within roughly about 1.5 hours to demold. The full curing process is about 4 to 5 hours, and then within 24 to 48 hours, it will have fully lost all its moisture and you can then actually use it as a functional item. Demolding these couldn't be any easier. You literally peel away from one edge and they come out straight away. So these effects here, I have done some marbling in here. They are so easy to work with, but as a plain cast with no coloration in, you can then go in with your paints over the top and actually add your own colors into the surface. You can then paint on any of your metallics. But in the series of videos that we're going to be doing with your resin cast, I'm going to teach you how to do your terrazzo effects, also how to do your painting effects, your marbling swirls, you name it. There's loads of different things that can be achieved. But that there shares with you how you can use your resin cast formula in the most basic ratio to create the most stunning, simplistic effect. And that there is Resin Cast from Highlight Craft. So thank you so much for joining me today. The links will be in the description of the video of how you can get hold of all of this and what you need to be able to complete the process. But take care and I'll see you in the next video. If you want to see more from Highlight Crafts, make sure you click the like button, subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below, and click the bell icon to receive notification of all our future content. You can also click here to see our latest video or click here to see more videos like this one.